Right, we're on live, Del, I can see us. It looks like we've been on for a couple of minutes by the looks of it. But now it's coming through.
Brilliant.
Right, hello everyone. I know it's been a while since you came across us last, but there has been so much going on. It's been incredible. What I'll do, I might, if I'm okay after this, I might jump back on and do a PCP live update for you all and fill you in on all the details. But for the moment, the purpose of this live tonight is we're going to be doing an online demonstration. Well, we would usually be outside the Senedd now to give a demonstration, to inform people of what's going on inside when there's usually a debate going on. But there's a number of reasons why we're not there. One, we didn't know it was happening, first of all, until 2 days ago. And that was just by chance Adele came across there. And two, it's just short notice. We don't get the opportunity to show you these debates anyway. You know, all you get to see is us performing out the front. So what we're going to do tonight, guys, a little bit different for you. We are actually going to be discussing a democratic process, what we've done from July 2020 up until now, the processes we took part in, the consultation, the petition and things like that. So we're going to be discussing that with you. But like I said, this debate could start any time from 6:30. So we will literally, we've got the computers on around us. We're trying our best to monitor it. It's new for us guys, right? So if we pull this off, we do deserve a Blue Peter badge. But yeah, so we can't time perfectly where we're going with it, right? So we're going to be cutting off the debate. You will have half hour of boredom with these headers, but we do have to do it, guys. We have to show you what they think, how incompetent they are. We'll be coming back then to us. We'll be discussing, we'll discuss what they've discussed. And then we'll finish on then, we'll be telling you what we know, our evidence. So what we've come across, every single document we show you at the start of our demonstrations, we're going to be bringing in at the end. And what we want you to do then, guys, is the reason why we're doing it like this is because we are aware that there's a lot of people following us now that haven't followed us from the start. So we're going to try and cram in as much as we can into 2 hours. I know 2 hours is long, but it's not really long for this issue, right? So we're going to try and cram in as much as we can for the people that don't really know anything. We're going to point you in the direction of all documents. I got my bad hands up before we start. There are 4 documents missing off our website, but I promise you they'll be on there tonight. Adele will still be putting them up for you and we will be going through them. At the end, guys, all we ask is we ask you to consider what the Welsh Government has delivered throughout this process, the evidence they've provided, and I want you to look at our evidence, the evidence that we've provided, and I want you to weigh them up. It's just like jury service. You've got to look at the evidence and make a decision. We are not asking you to form an opinion or to follow our opinion. This live is simply about fact, okay? We do discuss our opinions on live videos usually, but this is fact, guys. This is all information for you to all look where to find it. It's important to read this stuff with your own eyes, you know, because we've had some support from people in the past and they are supportive, they are vocal. But then when they are questioned about this, they can't hold their own, right? And then they get themselves in a bit of a pickle then. So we've had counsellors getting themselves caught up like that. That's why it's important that you read this stuff yourselves. Once you've read it yourself, do you know what I mean? It's your information then. Nobody can debate that with you because you've seen it. So that is the importance of this issue. So tonight we've got Adele and we've got Grace and we might have Joan on. So Joan might pop on if she's got plenty to say, but she says she's not going to come on if she hasn't got anything to say. So do you want to say anything, girls, before we start?
Yes, say hello to everyone, because as you said, it's been a long time since we've been all together on any lives or anything. So I just wish we weren't faced with this situation once again of the government, of us scrambling around, because the government once again are doing something with the RSE, which is of public knowledge to anybody. And
I think that's a really good point, Adele, scrambling around. I think that pretty much sums up the last 18 months for us. because it has been literally, we've been responsive to, they've been really late giving us dates of things happening. Things haven't been easy to find, and we've literally have had to, for the last 18 months, we've gone from mothers to scrambling professional lunatics.
Yes,
basically.
absolutely. And it's just, once again, it's a whitewash. Once again, there's absolutely no information being told. We still know nothing. We seem to know even less now. So I don't understand how they're debating something which they still really haven't even seen themselves.
I agree, because Jeremy Miles stated back, over a year ago now, that there was evidence to this. So it's been over a year, still no evidence provided.
Yeah, let me just explain to people a minute. Jeremy Miles, guys, you're going to be hearing that name a lot moving forward. Jeremy Miles is actually Grace's member of the Senedd, who is now the Education Minister. So you'll be hearing a lot about Jeremy Miles moving forward. Our dealings have been with Kirsty Williams, and she is so committed to this curriculum that as soon as we turned up the heat, she got off on the next stop. So we are fortunate enough that Grace has been proactive in this fight. Before she joined PCP, she was a very concerned mother. So she's been proactive. She's been communicating with Jeremy quite a lot there. So that's actually gone in our favour, because that gives us then a little bit of insight into him as a person and the way he views things. And so yes, we're a little bit ahead of the game with that, then, Grace, with this new Education Minister, aren't we? Even though we haven't challenged him since he's in his role.
I agree.
I just want to say to anyone watching, if it looks like I am being rude and go into my phone, it's because I am chatting to you lovely guys that are watching on YouTube. So if you do see me picking up my phone, it's to respond to some of the comments that are coming up in the chat on YouTube.
Yeah, and we've also got, we're not good with technology, so I think Adele's got 2 screens open, a laptop and a monitor. I've got a laptop and a computer and 2 phones. So even though we've got all this technology going, if anybody walked in now, they'd probably think, wow, but these are all our plan B, C, D, E, F, and G. You know, so we know the score with us now, guys. So yeah, so we just go back to the beginning and let's start the story then. What's the time now? It's almost 6:20 now, and the debate can start anywhere from 10 minutes time. Where are we at on the schedule, Adele?
On the schedule, they've still got the COVID debate coming up, and building safety. So COVID and building security, and then us.
Okay, right. So we'll go back then. I'll start with I'll start with my story then, guys. This is how I fell into this. I came across an article online in 2013 about masturbation for children aged 4 through the World Health Organization. I'm a criminologist. I got a keen interest in child sex abuse, exploitation, and things like that. So this is my field that I'm just, when I see an area of concern, you go digging. So I went digging, found stuff that are wholly inappropriate. Where it comes from is wholly inappropriate, but we won't talk about that now. And that was it. Right, so that's 2013, that was gone. Seen a few things popping up in England, you don't think nothing of it. And then an article came online in January 2020. And this article was telling us that we've lost our parental opt-out for sex education from age 3. So that is, you know, it's a concern. I went straight to our documents online, and within a matter of minutes, we found reference to the global sex education. So all this information is on our website. Del, do you want to share your screen and scroll to our website as I talk? Can you do that? Del's muted a minute. She's probably saying yes, but she's muted. Yeah. So yeah, guys. So all this is on our website. Okay. So everything I'm saying here now is going to be on the Education Our Say Our Way page, and you'll find things that's underlined. If it's underlined, that's going to take you straight through to the original source. Okay. So as I say, we found this global sex education in the documents. back from summer, girls. That's gone now. Yeah, so we've had, so we found this global sex education in the documents, and that's when we obviously started communicating with Kirsty Williams, who was the education minister. There's been some lengthy emails going back and forth between Kirsty and us personally. This was before PCP was set up, okay? So as parents, there's emails going back and forth. Some of those are on the website as well. The whole point of this emails and this communicating is obviously, like I've explained, I'm quite educated in the field of sex abuse. I've got an extensive history of education policy as well. So I really, you know, I felt it was my duty. You have to ask these questions. Are you qualified enough to deal with this? And I was just getting brushed off, basically. I was first of all told that there are over 5,000 civil servants and contractors writing this curriculum and, you know, trying to reassure me, you know. So it's on the original page there, the stuff from the government is. It's on the bottom of our investigation. So we formed the group then, guys, Education Our Say, Our Way. We started campaigning. Everyone started emailing their ministers. We were all being fobbed off left, right and centre. They started a consultation process. They don't make it easy for you, okay? So part of a consultation process is supposed to be where the information comes out to the public is told exactly what's going on, and the public get the opportunity to respond. So we missed this first consultation, right? We didn't know about that first one anyway. The second one we knew
Sorry,
about.
Kim, can I just cut in there to ask you, sorry, where is it on this homepage?
No, it's on our education page, love.
Oh,
Education.
on Facebook, sorry.
No, on yours. If we're going to more.
Oh, right. Sorry, I was going into resources. Sorry.
Well,
Sorry, guys.
Adele is supposed to be navigating around the website, but obviously she's got lost. No, we're back on track now. Yeah, but I was like, bye.
Sorry, guys.
So yeah, we took part in this consultation process anyway, guys. It's not easy to access, right? We actually sat ourselves, people that, look, we are not stupid people, but it's difficult, right? It was difficult for people to access. We had to sit there ourselves and physically fill these forms in. So it hasn't just been these two consultation processes now, there's also been online polls. And I want to talk about these because the figures are really high. The first poll the government did, 96% of people in Wales didn't like the idea of this anyway. They just didn't like the idea of sex education for age 3 with no parental opt-out. So that was without any additional information, they just didn't like it. The second online poll went out, 87% said they didn't want it, okay? So these are really high numbers here. So we get to the consultation, the first one, which we was not part of, RSE was mentioned in that, okay? And it is my belief that, again, I think we were in the high 90s of response to that. 90% didn't feel that appropriate there in that response.
And I just want to say, showing, because obviously the screen is on here, that here is the letters that Kim was just talking about and the response that we had from the education minister. So as
and if you scroll back down a minute, Al, if you scroll back down, there's arrows on the side there as well. See if you want to go back up a little bit.
Yeah.
On the side there. And if you show, so there's more. So there's like, so there you can see the freedom of information requests. So as you can see, guys, from the word go, we started gathering evidence from the Children and Young People's Committee to Kirsty Williams, Education Minister, freedom of information requests. You know, we tried really, really hard. And this all here for you to see. And that's the whole point of this talk now. We want to show you, it's not for us to show you, oh, we did this, we did that, we did that. We did that as a collective. We are showing you this now because we want you to see what the government thinks of us. Not us as people, as individuals, but us as a nation. Because for everything that we put in, it was on the behalf of the children. So this is the whole point of telling you about this process, because it's important you understand how much we've been disregarded all the way along, you know?
Yeah, and so, the figures that Kim are talking about, all the numbers that she's saying now, here is the way you'll find them in these reports, the consultation reports that they release. It's all written in here. themselves. We get a special mention ourselves.
But that's it. So the second consultation then we took part in. So if you go back up to that report, Adele, that we are in, the second consultation they published, guys, it did not mention RSE, okay? So they missed out RSE completely, and it was up to us to mention it. 68% of respondents mentioned RSE, even though it wasn't a question in the consultation. So that again shows you how much of a concern it is to people. And then as a result of that, then the government produced this report. By this time, we had set up Public Child Protection Wales. We had come across lots of problems. There's flaws in the training, the policies, but those are different lives for different days. And then Public Child Protection Wales was established. If you look at this report here as well, guys, I think it is recommendation 24, yeah? If you look here, recommendation 24, so there is 20 pages published on us, because apparently the government now, as a matter of urgency, need to launch a myth-busting campaign about RSE, which will be delivered as a result of this bill. They need to challenge the misinformation currently circulating about RSE. They need to seek to reassure RSE's developmentally appropriate content and approach. Stop right there. So like Adele said, what Adele has just shown you previously now on the page, the correspondence we had from the government, in there you'll find proof that age appropriate and developmental appropriate simply does not exist, okay? Let me just give you an example of that and put it into context. You've got a child that's born in September, that's age 4, turns 4 in September, but another child is not going to turn 4 till the following August, which is a year later. So that child stays age 3 throughout. You've also got additional needs children in there. Now, we're not talking 15 and 16-year-olds because, you know, there's not much difference in development there. But for young children, it's really important. So we wanted an assessment tool. We want the government to give us an assessment tool that teachers are going to use to determine age and developmental appropriate in children, neurotypical and neurodiverse, okay? It doesn't exist. So when you keep hearing this time and time again, you must get that out of your head straight away. The evidence is on our website from the government. It simply does not exist. So we went from the consultation process, ignored again, guys, okay? If you look throughout that report confirms that sex education is from age 3 to 16 with no parental opt-out. And it also mentions for the first time ever, UNESCO, which is the global sex education. Now, the correspondence we had with the Education Minister, Kirsty Williams, she was adamant that this was not a global sex education. So this is the first time where they started referencing it, okay? So we decided to do a petition. Now, the results of a petition.
Okay, I need to stop you. I think they're debating the RSE. They're talking about Eston.
Okay, go on then. But guys, we switch over to there now. We come back, okay?
Deputy Presiding Officer, there remains many glaring and obvious omissions in these documents, and it's highly confusing in content and is not fit for purpose. It is fundamental that this guidance needs to be clear, concise, watertight if it is going to be a guide to teaching RSE consistently across Wales, and if it's going to have the desired effect. If this code goes through as stands, I warn the Senedd, it will not address the issues it sets out to. It will not address what this government itself wants to address, and it will not be a worthy contribution to improving the lives of the next generations of Welsh children. We, the Welsh Conservatives, will be voting against this today, and I urge the Senedd to follow suit, and hope that this guidance can be brought back and revised to the Senedd in the new year and scrutinised properly as it deserves and it should be. Thank you.
Senedd Williams.
Diolch, Dir Prylywydd.
Thank you, Deputy Presiding Officer, and thank you to the Minister for the statement. I'm very pleased to contribute to this important debate on behalf of Plaid Cymru. This is such a crucial aspect of the new curriculum, an aspect that we have been consistently supportive of throughout the journey of the curriculum through the Senedd, as it will hopefully lead to a historic opportunity to nurture attitudes and respect for equality in our society in relation to sex, gender and sexuality, and I'm very pleased to note that RSE has received widespread support from practitioners and teachers alike, as well as public bodies and parents. Those who responded to the consultation on the draft code were generally supportive of the general approach of dealing with RSE, with positive responses to the approach taken, steered by various different viewpoints. Many of those that responded understood that providing relationships and sexuality education effectively in supporting the well-being of young people
unsure
and
why
in
we've got
promoting the
some
rights
male
of the
talking, but a
child,
woman on the
and
screen
that
just
provision
to say
should
that.
reflect or build on good
Welsh,
practice.
so they got an English interpretation.
In terms of the well-being of children and young people, it was recognised that appropriate provision would provide opportunities for them to develop their information, their skills, their confidence in examining their social spheres confidently, and would safeguard the emotional and physical health of those pupils. Ultimately, the aim, of course, is that it will enable children and young people to find their way confidently and safely within a society that is continually changing, a society that is very different to the one that we were brought up in, as the Minister said. In addition, relationships and sexuality education was considered crucial in providing an understanding and appreciation of relationships based on respect, in providing balanced and biased information that can protect and empower young people, an idea that is further supported by the emphasis on the rights of the child within these proposals, which emerge from the UN Convention on the Rights of the Child. Now, following the consultation on the draft code, some changes have been made, and these have been outlined partially by the Minister, so I would hope that the Minister could provide more detail on these changes, the rationale behind the changes to the code, and how he believes these changes will have a positive impact or will strengthen the provision of relationship sexuality education.
That pertain to relationships and sexuality remain prevalent in Welsh society. And I hope that in responding to this debate, the Minister can shed some light on how this aspect of the curriculum will help remedy these problems. As we heard in a recent Estin report, it was found that pupils are pressured regularly to send nude photos and girls harassed over the length of their skirts. In this regard, about half of secondary pupils said they had experienced sexual harassment from fellow pupils. That twice as many girls said they had faced sexual harassment from boys, while 46 of those who experienced it decided not to tell anyone else. It's shocking, but not entirely surprising to see that 71% of male pupils and 82% of female pupils had reported seeing peer-on-peer sexual harassment in secondary schools. We welcome the whole education approach taken to ending misogyny and violence against women and girls in the new curriculum. And in light of these alarming findings in the Estin report, it's clearer than ever that we need robust RSE provision in our curriculum, and that this provision empowers pupils to trust their teachers, stand up to their peers, and report all forms of sexual harassment. The Minister's response to this debate could hopefully clarify how RSE provision could go about remedying this horrible and ongoing problem in our schools. As the Minister referenced in his statement, Estin inspectors also found that many LGBTQ+ pupils had substantial personal experiences of homophobic bullying and harassment, with most LGBTQ+ pupils surveyed by Estin saying they felt only a few teachers would do anything about it if they heard homophobic slurs being used against them. It's concerning to note that some of the more oppositional consultation responses, which often masked prejudice and discriminatory attitudes against transgender people. So I'd like to go on record and reaffirm mine and my party's commitment to ensure that LGBTQ+ voices and experiences need to be heard and affirmed, and our continuing promise to actively promote LGBTQ+ rights. In responding to this debate, I'd appreciate it if the Minister could further explain how the RSE code before us will help LGBTQ+ students, as well as their colleagues and teachers, to create a more understanding, empowering and compassionate environment in our schools. In
conclusion, I also think that we need to look at how other subjects within new curriculum would strengthen or reinforce RSE in its core aims. Plaid Cymru has long campaigned to see more emphasis on Welsh history, including the LGBTQ+ history of Wales in the new curriculum. And I'm pleased to see reference to this in our cooperation agreement with the government. It is crucial that pupils learn about the historic context, how we got to where we are today as a society, if they are to understand and find their way within that society. So I'd like to know, in conclusion, how RSE education is to be reflected and supported by other subjects within the curriculum, such as history. Thank you.
Darren Miller.
Thank you, Deputy Presiding Officer. I'll be voting against the Welsh Government's Relationships and Sexuality Education Code today. As the Minister will be well aware from debates that were held in the previous Senedd, I regard parents as the primary educators of their children, not the state. And I believe that the Welsh Government's removal of the parental right to withdraw their children from sex education lessons was a massive retrograde step for parental rights and choice. And given the fact that parents can no longer withdraw their children from sex education lessons, it is absolutely critical that the new RSE code is as respectful and accommodating as possible to the wide variety of views that people hold on this very important subject. But I regret that the code before us today and the draft statutory guidance, which was shared with members late this morning, does not do that. What is clear is that the Welsh Government is trying to disguise a controversial set of ideas over which there's a great deal of debate as some sort of settled catalogue of truths that all pupils in the country should be taught. But the reality is far from that. The reality is that there's a great deal of debate, even within the LGBTQ+ community, on the impact that the code may have, particularly on women's rights. And there are real concerns that the views of faith and BAME communities across Wales risk being demonised and discriminated against. The code is very heavy on respect, but it's clear that that respect does not seem to extend to many Christians, Muslims, Jews, Hindus, Sikhs, members of other faiths, members of the LGBTQ+ community, or those whose views may be at odds with those espoused by the Welsh Government. The evidence suggests that the code and the draft guidance have been influenced heavily from a particularly woke ideological viewpoint. And the draft guidance in particular screams woke. Out of the 4,000 words of which it comprised, we see the words male mentioned just once, female twice, both in relation to female genital mutilation. Men doesn't appear at all, and neither do the words girl, boy, straight, or heterosexual. Any relationships and sexuality education code that seeks to avoid these words simply isn't worth the paper it's written on. Now, as the government of the day, I respect that you have the right to design the curriculum in the way that you see fit. But you do not have the right to teach children as young as 11 an inappropriate sexually loaded curriculum promoting an understanding of how all are entitled to, and I quote, pleasurable relationships. Doing that without parental consent, in my view, is wholly unacceptable. So I urge all members today to reject this code and the draft guidance emanating from it. And I urge the Welsh Government to go back to the drawing board, to engage more with parents, to engage more with faith communities, and a more diverse range of voices from the LGBTQ+ community. Develop a new code that addresses their concerns. I urge you.
Jenny Rathbone.
Thank you. I respectfully disagree with Darren Miller. I think it's really, really terrible for children's rights if they don't know what's happening to them when they're going through puberty. Why is it that so many girls have no idea what is going to happen to them when they start their period? And that is just shocking and very frightening and unnecessarily slow. And we really do live in the worst of all worlds, where sex is used to sell everything, whether it's harmful pornography, or it's to sell the latest shoes or the football or a car. So we absolutely have to get to grip with this, as we saw in Malia Rowland's devastating report on what we already knew was happening, the peer-on-peer sexual harassment that goes on through people's smartphones and other online platforms. It's really, really uncomfortable, and most of this bullying and sexual harassment doesn't go on in schools. It's going on outside school, although it may well be going on in school too. But it really, really underlines the importance of the collaborative partnership with families, as well as the right of the young person to get some sense into different relationships that both children and adults have. This is the reality of their lives, and if we're not explaining to them, you know, how they may wish to explore their personality and their sexuality, without giving them any context for all the other horrible things that sex is used for, to corrupt people's heads as well as their lives. We really have to take this matter really, really seriously, and I have confidence in the ability of teachers to address this matter in an age-appropriate way that gives people comfort that there's nothing unusual about their particular family situation, because it comes in all shapes and sizes, whilst we are having commercial interests who are targeting children and young people and getting them to think about things in a way that is totally artificial and harmful. So we really do have to address this, and because otherwise we are going to have people growing up thinking that sex is all about being brutal and violent, and absolutely it is not. It's all about being loving and firm friendships and respect for each other. So we really do have a big problem here. And I suppose my question today to the Minister is whether or not he thinks that we should be banning smartphones from in school, and really advising parents it is not a great idea to be giving smartphones to young people where they can access all the harmful stuff that goes on the internet that's at the moment sadly completely uncontrolled.
Gareth Davis.
Diolch yn fawr iawn, Deputy Llywyd. The draft of this RSE code is a vast improvement on the one sent out with the consultation. However, as it stands today, we can't support it. We do still have some huge concerns, which I hope the Minister can address and bring back a revised code that all in this chamber can support. The guiding principle of the Relationships and Sexuality Education Code, at least according to the Act, is that RSE lessons must be developmentally appropriate for learners. I am concerned that this code fails to adequately demonstrate how this can and will be achieved. The fact that schools and early years settings will have to decide what is developmentally appropriate for each child places undue burdens on those settings. How are schools and early years settings equipped to make those decisions? Teachers are not experts in child development, yet they are being asked to analyse each child and make a determination of their stage of development. This code has been developed with broad stroke phases, which according to the document itself has been designed to give practitioners an understanding of what is likely to be developmentally appropriate. And this is not good enough. It is also concerning that within classes or year groups, children could be taught differently as they are at different stages of development. But it is not clear that they will be safeguards in place to prevent children accessing material that is not developmentally appropriate for them. The lack of safeguards makes this whole code unsuitable. That, together with the fact that we are being asked to improve the code without ever seeing the accompanying guidance.
Gareth, could I have a second? Joyce Watson, do you want to make an intervention? Joyce, do you want to make an intervention? I see you signalling.
Yes, I do. Thank you.
Oh, apologies for that. I didn't see.
Do you want to take a, Gareth, will you take an intervention?
Well, I'm nearly finished. I'm near as finished, Deputy Clowith, so I'm not sure there'd be much much point really.
Joyce, it's your choice, Gareth.
No, I've nearly concluded, Deputy Clowith.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Joyce, sorry. Come on, Gareth.
Well, yes, and we've been asked to approve the code without even seeing the accompanying guidance. Means that there is no way we can approve this code today. And I urge members to reject the government's motion and call upon ministers to redraft the RSE code with some stronger evidence. Thank you very much.
Sam Rowlands.
Yeah, thank you, Deputy Presiding Officer. And I must also say that I'm disappointed that just 30 minutes have been tabled for this really important item this evening now, and also disappointed that draft guidance was only published late last night. It does make it difficult to properly scrutinise a really important area of work. That aside, whilst much of the intention of the code presented today may be good, I do share members' concerns with the lack of acknowledgement and the lack of clearly identified role of parents in their responsibility in education and supporting their children. First and foremost, it's a parent's responsibility to ensure their children are educated in the way that they see as best and most appropriate for their child. And it's important to remember that parents are ultimately responsible for their child's education and well-being, and it's parents who know their children best. And the role of government is to support parents in undertaking this amazing privilege and this great responsibility. So with this in mind, it's deeply concerning that under this code, parents won't have a choice in this very personal and very important area of learning. Right from a young age of 3 years old, the state will have that intervention with no choice of parents there. And indeed, I've had a number of teachers actually contact me regarding their concerns at this shift from traditional parent-led model education to now much more responsibility and pressure being put on them as teachers. So aside from that parental choice, I've also had teachers get in touch to express their concern, the lack of protection afforded girls and women in this code. I'd like to quote from one teacher who wrote to me on this matter, and they said, "The Welsh Government are promoting an ideology in our schools which is not supported by strong evidence. Teachers should be supported in helping to make sure that our pupils are given age-appropriate and scientifically accurate relationship and sex education. We should also be supporting the Equality Act 2010, where sex is a protected characteristic under the provision of single-sex services. Spaces and protections are permitted to ensure women's safety, privacy, and dignity." There's a quote there from a teacher who wrote to me on this issue. And I think this teacher highlights a really important point, which I hope the Minister will take time to reflect on and bring back a better version of what's in front of us here today. So in light of this and my significant concern in relation to the general direction of travel in pushing aside parent-centric education, I'll be voting against this rushed and ill-thought-out code, which will take responsibility away from parents and put more pressure on our teachers. Diolch yn fawr iawn.
I call on
the Minister for Education and the Welsh Language to reply.
Deputy
Llywydd, may I thank those members who've contributed on the code, which is subject of our debate today. May I first of all thank Senedd Williams for the way she framed her comments during this debate. The substance of contributions is important, but the tone is also very important on an issue as important as this. So I'm grateful to her for that and for referring to the broad support that exists to the documents that are before us today and the work that's happened in a broad range of organisations, taking in a broad range of voices too, in order to create the documents before us today, the kinds of voices that Darren Miller encourage us to be allowed to contribute to the debate. They have contributed, and I thank them for doing so. Senedd Williams specifically asked me what changes have happened as a result of that consultation process. Well, there have been a broad range of changes, which just demonstrates the depth of the consultation responses in terms of rights, in terms of the UNCRC, in terms of principles around safety, in terms of the role of parents that Darren Miller and Sam Rowlands mentioned. All of those have seen some changes as a result of the consultation. Estin worked with us to ensure that their work, and Senedd Williams referred to this, that their work in our schools looking at harassment, and that the fruit of that work was also incorporated into the code. So I'm grateful to them for them. There is more work needed in terms of professional training. There is more work needed in terms of resources. And those are an important part of the responses to the challenges described by Extin, which are at the heart of many of the arrangements in place in this code today. She asked me what the contribution of the code would be to an understanding of LGBTQ plus communities. As a gay man myself, I'm very pleased with the opportunity to bring this code forward today, a code which is inclusive and allow us to see our identity reflected in the debates within our schools in a very appropriate manner.
Made an opening contribution which I think I would say more in sorrow than in anger. I disagreed with almost every part of her contribution, and I think it simply did not reflect the reality of the code and the statutory guidance that we have before us here today. Just for the record to put it with, I think Laura Ann Jones and Sam Rowlands, I think, believe the guidance had been published last night. Darren Miller believed it was published this morning, and Gareth Davis didn't believe it had been published at all. Just for the record, it was shared with members, as is conventional, on the 26th of November. Conventionally, it will be published after this debate because it relates to a code which has not yet been approved by the Senedd. So I wanted to publish it in advance in light of the discussion that was happening around the code in advance of this debate. It has been available to members for at least 2 weeks, which I hope other members at least will have found helpful. There are references aplenty, as I mentioned in my opening statement, to some of the points that Laura Ann Jones was challenging me on. It is very clear from the statutory guidance with how important the VAD RSE legislation is as part of this scheme, and how important this policy is in part of our broader policy to eliminate violence against women and girls. I hope I made that very clear in my opening remarks, and it's certainly clear from the statutory guidance. Laura Ann Jones also indicated that there was an absence of references to both, I think, pornography and gender stereotypes. Both are dealt with explicitly, for the record, referring to learners' understanding of an awareness of how sexual material and media often represents gender, sexual activity, bodily appearance and relationships in unrealistic and harmful ways, and the importance of learners knowing how to safely respond to and challenge gender and sexual stereotypes and unfair behaviours. Those both set out in the letter which I sent to members this morning, responding to some of the public discussion and debate. If I may, I think one of the most important contributions we can make in this Senedd is to take those steps together which help make us a more inclusive, kinder and healthier nation. And I hope you'll forgive me a personal reflection. I look at these new RSE reforms and think how much I myself would have benefited from a curriculum which had this kind of teaching at its heart, one in which my younger self could see himself reflected back at him, and the wonderful boost to well-being, to self-respect, and to security that would bring. Those are different times to put that with, but if we are truly committed to giving our children and young people an education which allows them to see themselves at its heart, to keep them safe from harm and equipped to develop healthy relationships, then let's take that next step on that journey today. So I'd like to thank everyone who will cast their vote today for this code. It's an important act to put out with. For some of us, an inclusive Wales is more than a political objective. It's an essential precondition to well-being and indeed to safety. And to put out with, these reforms help make that a reality for all our children today and for our future generations.
Question here whether there been a cynnig.
The proposal is to agree the motion. Does any member object?
Oes.
If there are objections, I will therefore defer voting under this item until voting time.
Nesaf, yn unol o reol
We
sefydlog
move now in accordance with Standing Order 12.24 unless member objects. The two motions under items 9 and 10, the Local Elections Wales Rules 2021 will be grouped for debate, but with votes taken separately. Objections?
Galwaf a gwneud o
And I
cyllid a
therefore call on
Llywodraeth
the Minister
Leol,
of Finance and
Evans.
Local Government, Rebecca Evans.
Elections are essential to our democracy and
Right, I can't see if I'm on.
Yeah, you are, love.
Wait, I'm not on my own screen. That was the end then. It was moving on to the next topic. So I will get Kim to confirm. I think, Kim, what happens now, it gets voted on at the end of all the...
I'm not sure. I can't get it up. Oh, wait, well, the wrong one. That's why I'm just popping a bag on my pajama bottoms on. I can't see it. I know. Yes, I can.
Yeah, so voting, it says, is right at the end.
Okay, right. Well, what did you think about that then? Because I'm going to be completely honest. Once I start talking, I've even got the evidence. Look how high this work is. I've even got the evidence here to show everyone that.
Yeah, so do you mind if I then bring up just a couple of things first, Kim?
Yeah,
because I know that you're going to probably have all these in and you're going to go to town on it. So just a couple of things. One big thing is that we get thrown in our face a lot of the time that this is going to save children from abuse. However, at no point in any debates, in any documents published, has there been any kind of guidance as to how this is going to protect children from abuse other than by naming their genitals? To me, this is very much about when they are talking about safeguarding issues, it all seems to come down to LGBT and their safety in school and them being discriminated in school and making sure they have the support and access to the services that they require. I'm still not hearing the word disability at any point. And as most of you know, I work in a school, I work with special needs children in school, and it drives me insane, the lack of support for these children in school. There's nothing about that in there.
I appreciate you saying that, to be honest, though. As you know, with one of my children's conditions, it does make them feel alone, makes them feel very alone, makes them feel like people don't understand, etc. And it's disgusting. Not once have and I've asked for evidence right from the start, as you guys know.
Yeah.
And I'm still hearing nothing about that. But carry on. I appreciate you saying that, Adele, because...
No, it's a big problem.
Yeah, it is. And it's the longer it's going on, the more it's getting underneath my skin, but carry on.
Another thing
Are you moving on from additional needs now?
Yes, and just
let me add then. So my problem with additional needs is I've got a son with autism and ADHD. Also, work with child sex abuse and exploitation. The statistics for ASD children for being abused and becoming abusers are very, very high. We have had, and we can count on two hands at least, the amount of parents that's come to us with autistic children where incidents have occurred or they have been exposed to information in school. These children get repetitive behaviours. They get impulses. And I'm so worried that a teacher is going to deliver content to a child who is then going to harm another child. You need to remember that these children as well, they don't just have these impulses and these repetitive behaviours. They are red hot-blooded males. And I will go a bit further. I used to run the additional needs movement. When I first posted this on that group, the parents applauded it. And the reason why they applauded is because they don't know how to address this issue themselves. So please, we as an organization are going to do that with you. We're going to do that for you. You don't need to put this in anybody else's hands, okay? We are going to do that. That is a massive issue. You've just heard from 3 different aspects here, okay? A teacher, she works in a school, disabilities, 18 years. Grace is a mother of additional needs. I'm a mother of additional needs. Plus, I know the stats of the dangers there, right? So you've seen that now, guys. That is an area of concern. Please don't be scared, and please don't put your trust into others, okay? We will help you through that process. It is an area of concern, and we will address it.
Absolutely. And just on that, would be to me to say there, and I know you're going to expand on this massively, is the peer-on-peer abuse. Still no mention on this. Falls back into what are they doing to protect children against sexual abuse. Well, the focus very much seems to be on the children themselves. Still no focus on the adults. But the adults who are abusing the children. More input. I know that Kim's going to have something for you. And what about these teachers that abuse? And there isn't a week that goes by that in the paper there is not about a teacher who has been arrested or a teacher who has been, I'd like to say sentenced, but a slap on the wrist to me doesn't count as any kind of sentence. This is massively lacking. This gender stereotypes, talking about gender stereotypes and teaching children about gender stereotypes. This education reinforces gender stereotypes. How can you be saying that we're going to teach these children that gender stereotypes are socially constructed, whilst at the same time telling them that because they like the socially constructed stereotype of male or female, that means they are the opposite sex? It makes absolutely no sense to me.
And again, that's dangerous. That is dangerous for additional needs kids who do not feel comfortable in their own skin anyway. So again, that is, none of this is a one size fits all.
No. I'm only just briefly passing on these because I know that Kim will talk more on these.
No. Are you going through different topics for that?
I'm just.
Well, there we are. No, let's go back to peer-on-peer. I just want to tell people one thing before I go into that differently.
Yeah.
Adele said about nobody talks about the adults. What we have here is we have done freedom of information requests to some of the police forces in Wales about sexual assaults and rapes in schools in Wales. Okay. And we've asked them how many sexual assaults and rapes are on school grounds, how many were perpetrated by a child, and how many were perpetrated by an adult. So to put things into perspective, this is why I want to, because we spoke about peer-on-peer, okay? So this is between September 2016 to July 2019. Remember now, these children are only in school 30 odd weeks of the year. We've only got 1,500 schools in Wales, okay? So we've got here, this is South Wales Police. All right, guys, these are all original. They haven't been uploaded to the website yet because behind the scenes, we've been doing masses of work in this area anyway, but we can give this to you now, right? So this one, what do we ask here? We went to the number of sexual assaults reported at school from September to July, like I said. And so what we had was, the total number was 519 for South Wales Police, okay? So that was sexual assaults and rapes. And 259 were perpetrated by children, right? So we got half there were perpetrated by children. So what does that tell you? Nobody's mentioned the other half were adults, okay? That hasn't been mentioned at all anyway here. Think now we're only discussing peer-on-peer abuse. The next one, we've got David Powys, okay? And I forgot to do Gwynedd, guys. We will get that done. So Gwynedd, we want to know the number of sexual assaults reported at school, the number of child perpetrators, the number of adult perpetrators. The number of sexual assaults there was 125, and the number perpetrated by a child was 74. See, so we're not even, there's still a large number there that's adults, guys, a large number. And here we've got North Wales Police. and they've given us these numbers. They've given us the rape and sexual assault separately, okay? So in the same time period, there were 11 rapes on school ground. 3 were perpetrated by children, right? There was 106 sexual assaults. 51 was perpetrated by children. Right, now this information that we have done is also published publicly, okay? So every time somebody does a freedom of information request, it isn't just ours to keep. It goes on a database, it goes on a website. You can all access it yourselves anyway.
The website is called What Do You Want to Know?
Right,
You type in what you want to know, and all you've got to do is in a search bar. You only have to type 2 words, and any FOIs with those words in it will come up, and you can see every FOI that's been done.
So there we are, guys, right? So we've got the government talking about peer-on-peer abuse. I will go into more later on, but that is real statistics from our schools, okay? And these are just reports. We also know of times as well, which you've heard on the recording. We've been speaking to a head teacher once, remember that? And we also know of incidents where that teacher kept things away from parents until something else happened later on. So not everything goes to the police. A lot of it just goes to the booking reception as well, okay? So you need to be mindful of that, guys. But those are actual numbers. You heard that debate. You didn't hear nothing about teachers to do, you know? Go on, guys, sorry.
Yeah. I'm going to save this one for last because I know you're going to have one of the women, I forgot to write her name down. She was passing the buck.
One with the periods. Is it the one with the periods last time?
No, yes, the periods, the sexualizing, the no smartphones. Yes.
Yeah, I got her here as well. Come on.
So
I couldn't find her name either.
As somebody who's worked in secondary schools myself, I have to say I'd be all up for kids shouldn't have smartphones in school, at least in the classroom, because I do sit there watching teachers trying to talk to the kids. They can't touch their phones and the kids just sat there playing on their phone. So I do. However, in terms of it being because children are accessing sites that they shouldn't be accessing, no, that isn't our responsibility. It is our responsibility as a parent to monitor, but it is not our responsibility to get this wiped off. These ladies know that my daughter's phone was on absolute lockdown. It's linked up to my phone. There is nothing that she can access. She has no YouTube on her phone. She has no Google. And yet on a kid's app, she ended up with pornography images on her phone. Now, is that my fault as a mother? I've done what I can to stop that. So she's only got access to a few games on her phone. She plays it for a few games. She doesn't call anybody. She doesn't do anything on it. This is big tech. When are we going to hold them responsible?
Right. Well, can you remember that article that went out of the homework in hell when the teenage brother found his sister searching, right? If you remember, I wanted to do a video then and put a screenshot in of that. So I went to Google to try and find that article. And if you type in schoolboy catches his sister, whatever you type in is all X-rated. It is all pornography. So the question for the government is, how do we get from top shelf to on our screen then? How did we make that jump? How do we make that leap? We've had a mother come forward as well, and she works in the health industry. She works alongside what they called health visitors. So, and she's made a really good point. Whereas we got to go on our phone to put these locks in place, why do we not have to go into a new phone to unlock these things? You know, everyone you've got to be 18 to have a credit card for a start, right? And I'm aware not everyone's got a credit card, but there is some form, there can be something. If you want to access porn and you're over a certain age, there can be a system. This is easily solved at government level. It's done, job done. So, you know, that I think that's a really important thing that we need to plow towards now, because we're going back to the pornography as well. It's not just accessing it. When you look at serious offenders, sex offenders, murderers that's involved with sex as well, you will find it goes back to pornography. There's always an addiction to porn there because they get desensitized to it. So they need more and more for that gratification. So that is a real issue. It's in lots of academic, look, we've got psychologists looking at it, we've got criminologists looking at it, we've got therapists looking at it, we've got lots of different areas of this now, right? Everybody understands that is a problem. So why aren't we going to the source? And like you said, Del, you are right, that is not our problem, it's the government's problem, and they need to sort that out.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, I know this is happening. I myself was sat in a classroom. I was with 3 7-year-old boys when one 7-year-old boy turned round to the other and told him that when he gets home, he should watch Pornhub. And I was completely shocked, jaw on the floor, by what I was hearing. So it is happening.
Yes.
Now, when
there was also a study done, wasn't there? There was a study done, and on the average age of, wasn't there something to do with age 10, and it was something to do with Pornhub users, or the age 10 or age 10 Pornhub users shot during a certain time. I'll have to go back and revisit that, but it is something I come across, and I remember thinking that is steep, you know, the fact that it's age 10, kids age 10 are attracted to that. So, you know, and like, yeah, as a parent, you can, you know, it's not just that, you get these pop-ups as well, and one pop-up leads to another pop-up to another pop-up, and it can so easily happen. With porn, we've also got child porn, you know, so come on now, we need to, as a nation, if you really need that for your own gratification, then surely you can go and get some kind of ID to access it. You know?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It's just, well, as you know, it's particularly Pornhub. It's a minefield. Children are trafficked through that website. Lots of underage. I won't call it, I hate that term, child pornography, and we all use it by accident sometimes. It's video footage of children being raped and abused. And in fact, so far in the RSE code that has been published, what we can view, there is no mention of pornography in it whatsoever.
But we were told, Adele, if you look back, if anybody wants to look back at some of our videos, you will find some of the previous debates are on there. And this is the main thing they keep talking about. In the beginning, they kept discussing periods and pornography. They can access stuff at a click of a button. Now we get to this stage, the last debate, they were waving a flag saying there'd be no information about periods if it wasn't for the women politicians. You know, well, that was supposed to be a main theme.
Yeah.
So was pornography supposed to be main theme. Yeah. And here we are. And
bring it on to the mention of the word periods. Periods is not sex. Yes, a period is the start to reproducing life, which will be a sex of one or the other, male or female. And we're in absolute agreement. It is no child should be starting her periods not knowing what is going on with her body. No child. But this is again where education comes into the parents, and there is so much opportunity to get that knowledge in, even if it is during their midwifery courses or their antenatal and their midwives who come for the first year after, reminding them, don't forget I had booklets on what to do up until age 5 and these milestones. Well, one of those milestones is your child starting puberty. So there is plenty of ways which we can find a way of making sure that every girl knows that she's going to be starting her period. But that also comes under biology.
Removed science as a mandatory subject.
And girls are developing at, again, how do we be age appropriate? I've openly discussed my daughter started puberty at 7 years of age. There is another girl in her classroom, same age, she's now 8, but has already been having her periods for 6 months already. She started her periods before her 8th birthday. But does that mean every child in that class, especially the boys who are years away from starting puberty, do they need to know these things at the same time? How, with girls developing at such a vast rate, the responsibility of a child developing, growing, that has to be put back to the parents. And, you know,
it's a health issue. It's a health issue at the end of the day. And unless it's the parent that needs to address these health issues. You know, the parent needs to take them to consultants or doctors or whatever. The parent needs to tend to those needs. So again, the parents are the ones that need the support.
Yes. And just on the other thing that woman was talking about was the sexualization of children. Again, this is not the parents' responsibility. And this education is doing this to the children also. But let's address the sexualization of children and how accepted it especially is for girls. You can't buy clothing that's not exposing half of a young girl's body. Every music video, adverts, even their cartoons, so many children into anime, and anime characters are very scantily dressed. And it's a massive push on girls to look a certain way, to be a certain way, and that they have to be sexual. This isn't addressing that.
No, it's not. And do you know what? I got 2 boys, so I don't really see that side of things and so much, right? But I did go shopping with Rachel this week, and winter clothes. So obviously she was picking stuff up for her girls, and even the woolly jumpers were crop.
Yes.
You know, they were all crop, and
I totally agree there.
You know, and that was for age 6 or for age preteen. You know, so everything was crop.
I know that everybody has their different views, but even for myself, we had our Christmas party in school the other day, and one of the children in my class, so I'm in a year 4 class, so they're 8 years old, and she's got her jeans on, but she's got this tiny little crop top on, and I was just thinking to myself, like, gosh, how could you I know some people really would not care, and they'll say it's you, the adults shouldn't be looking. No, the adults shouldn't be looking, but we got a fact, some of them do. Look
at the statistics we've just shown you now. We've just read out the actual figures from the police force.
But not just that, it's
looking at children.
It's December, and I don't think there's ever a time in a classroom that your child needs to be in a crop top and jeans. So I think even as parents, we have to look at it's lovely, and I know the kids just want to look fashionable, but we as parents got to go, how is, no, it goes to the same with the girl, when a woman is raped and they are blamed for what they are wearing. And that's not, but when it comes to our children, last summer when I was on the beach and there was a 3-year-old running around naked, I would love for us to live in a world where your 3-year-old could just be running around the beach naked, but you don't know who's on that beach, hoping that there's going to be some very underdressed children on that beach.
And that's the harsh reality of it.
We live in.
This is the harsh reality of it, and that is sexual safeguarding, but none of that is mentioned throughout any of this. None of it. There is no, considering this safeguards, there are no hereditary warnings, only to look into the family. But we get into that. You crack on. What's next?
Yeah, well, one of my just like regarding the safeguarding, and we've said this from the start. This whole education is about putting the responsibility of the child's safety on the child's shoulders. Well, we've taught you this, so you should have known better now. Yeah. We're talking about children whose minds, their prefrontal cortex, which is responsible for impulse control, all these things, that's not fully developed until they're, mid-20s, 25. Again, going back to the condoms, these 12 and 13-year-olds putting condoms up, but they need to know. Even if you showed them 10 times over, scientifically, developmentally, the chances of them then taking it out of their pocket, the chances of them then putting it on.
Isn't there 8 or 13 stages? thought processes to get into that, wasn't Miriam saying it was 8 or 13, wasn't there?
Yeah, and they're just not going to go through all those processes. So we're putting all this responsibility onto them and I've seen a post the other day which was saying, and I learned this in 1986, we've been having children put condoms on bananas, or now they're even using replica. What we seen could only be described as a dildo. So we're having these children since what, the 80s, put on these condoms. Is there any evidence to show that this, when they're saying that pregnancy rates are still increasing, and this is why we need this education, clearly teaching 12-year-olds to put a condom on isn't working in reducing pregnancy rates.
And what we've done is we've gone from teaching 16-year-olds to put them onto bananas to 13-year-olds putting them onto cucumbers, because they've always done it. And now we've actually got children putting adult-sized condoms onto adult-sized dildo in a class age 12. That is, we haven't always done that.
And you
right? So don't tell me we've always done it. We're desensitizing children to adult genitalia.
And just to say, and that's what you've got to recognize also. If these are 12 and 13-year-olds, even if there's a 12 or 13-year-old female in that class who has been in some way sexually active with another 12 or 13-year-old in that class, he doesn't have male genitalia. He doesn't have a full grown adult male genitalia. He's barely into puberty.
Yeah, and do you know what I mean? And we are not providing the right size condoms. So where is the safety aspect? We're not catering for their needs. It's not their needs we're catering for.
No, absolutely. And just the final thing, which I know again that you can expand on so much more, is what one of them saying, which is age appropriate.
I'm tired of hearing that, to be honest.
Yeah, it's just age appropriate. There is no age appropriate is only on a one-to-one individual level. And like they said, and like we have said a million times, what is their assessment tool for how it's developmentally along this child is in knowing how, like, is it a sex questionnaire? How are you?
If anyone watching this wants to see, I think I've sent at least 5 emails on a Freedom of Information request asking them for a scientific statement or an assessment tool for developmental appropriate and age appropriate. And in the end, they just rubbished me off with a letter. Oh, by the way, you put an FOI through as well. And that is on the website as well, guys. It simply does not exist.
That's what I say. He's been claiming it for over a year now.
No, it simply does not exist.
No. And
let's look at a Kinder egg, right? You can't give that to someone under 3. So what if we've got a 6-year-old with the mentality of a 3-year-old? Can we still give it to them?
Yeah.
It doesn't exist.
Yeah.
That toy is telling us a 3-year-old can have it. But the mother can tell us a 6-year-old can't.
I sit in class, we've got the children, they've got a separate spelling group, then they've got their English groups, then they've got their maths group. So we'll be talking to the classroom, and it's red group, green group, yellow group. Any last questions? All varying in difficulty for each group. So when this comes to age appropriate, we've got 3 different levels. Is the teacher still just shouting out all the information to all 3 groups, that everybody's still hearing it? So is age appropriate about protecting them from hearing what they're not ready to hear, or just not having them learn what they're not ready to understand? Like, how is this going to be done?
And I just want to mention this right now, because we can mention this bit throughout as well. People will always come back and say, if I had known what was happening to me at that age, I could have done something about it. Now, this is not by in any way saying you're wrong, because every single person is different. Maybe something like that might have helped you. But throughout these documents, it's not telling you it's abuse. Throughout the documents, they are telling you if it tickles or if there's a biological reaction, it is sexual pleasure. So you need to understand that if this education is in full force, that is not even abuse in their eyes, and it won't be abuse in your eyes, because in your eyes and in your head, you look into this professional as telling you what you're experiencing because it feels a certain way is pleasure. So please, I know there's people out there, they do think that this would help. Honestly, just follow us. We've worked so hard to bring you the proof. We are ready to deliver. We're ready to deliver now. This does not safeguard. And this is why we set up the organization, because it doesn't safeguard, and we are trying to fill these gaps, you know, and we have to start with the middleman, and the middleman is you guys.
I want to just emphasize on what you've said there, Kim, and I know most of you have heard me rant on about this so many times. So again, teachers now are going to miraculously know all this information about child sexual abuse. They're somehow now going to be trained experts, that they're going to be able to handle all this now in the classroom. And my biggest bugbear, and I still keep seeing it, is the same one every single time, of a child approaching a teacher and saying, my uncle licked my cookie, and the teacher sending the child on its merry way.
Oh, my uncle touched my mouse.
Yeah, the one I keep seeing is my cookie, licked my cookie, licked my cookie. Now, I've got big issues here. One, this implies that the child has come laughing, skipping, in a great mood, coming up to the teacher saying, oh, my uncle licked the cookie. I personally would say that if a child is disclosing abuse, which that child was, or it wasn't, because this is not a real story, even though it keeps being put out, this is not a real story, this is something that they say to excuse needing to know these words. I've got many issues with this statement. One, how is that child's behavior when they're telling you this information? Because I'm pretty sure they are not happy about it. Two, where is the teacher's engagement with the child? One question more would have soon made a teacher realize that they're not talking about a cookie. Oh, where did you get your cookies from? Why don't you give your uncle another cookie? Could you have had another cookie? The fact that this child approached the teacher, said something, and the teacher basically has said, I haven't got time to talk to you, go away. This is an issue I have. I see it in school, and this is no blame on the teachers, but they have not got time to talk to the pupils. They're outside that classroom in the morning, they're greeting the teachers, the kids are all in the class. The teacher comes back in and lessons are started immediately. And they are going right up until they go out on break, until they go out on lunch.
It's not just they haven't got time either, right? So if they did ask those questions and then it went a little bit further, right? They are simply not allowed to ask, okay? That is in the safeguarding policies. You are not allowed to ask any more questions. You're not allowed to take that further. You've got to report it. If you're in England, it's under a different system. If you're in Wales, it's section 130 of the Social and Care and Wellbeing Act. You report it to social services. Social services are not allowed to ask about abuse. If you don't believe me, go and read the Welsh Government report published September 2020 by Barnados and Welsh Government, telling us social workers do not know what to do with the disclosure. They're not allowed to ask about abuse. And there was a teacher that made me very annoyed the other day, very annoyed. She said about how she deals with disclosures. Misleading parents about how well she deals with disclosures. They're not allowed to ask about disclosures. So please stop saying that you deal with disclosures when you don't. And please, parents, stop thinking that the schools do, because they do not. And I want to fetch this report in a minute, guys, because we're constantly told about schools are places of safeguarding, right? So don't just take my word for now on reports or whatever. Have a look at this, guys, right? So this is by the Independent Inquiry into Child Sex Abuse. This is called Child Sexual Abuse in the Context of Schools, right? This was published December 2020. Yeah, December 2020. The words in here, these aren't my words. The words in here say, child sex abuse in schools is an open secret. It's an open secret. 43% of children that's been abused in school were aware of abuse of other children experiencing abuse. This is their report, not mine, okay? Now, I don't always support these government reports because they don't always give you the full truth, but they give some truth, right? They give some truth. You know, then there has to be some truth in that. Also, we get told again about disclosures. Now, I don't know these figures off the top of my head, but we get something like, I think it's 4% of boys disclose abuse in school and 7% of girls disclose abuse at school. Whereas at home, 48% of boys disclose it, like 54% of girls disclose it. You know, so that turns that argument on its head as well. You know, disclosures are not happening at school, right? But we've got policies that work on abuse at home. So we got statistics tell us the more abuse happens at home, but those statistics only come from police reports and self-reports, right? It does not come from institutional abuse that goes unnoticed for years, or it doesn't go from the grooming gang. So we don't get all these statistics brought in to build these policies. We're only looking at a certain aspect of it. When you look at the individual statistics from the different fields and different studies, you will find our policies are built off statistics that are really false. You know, our teachers are not trained to look at other teachers, right? Like they discussed peer-on-peer abuse. They do have a policy for peer-on-peer sex abuse, right? They do have that. It does exist, you know, but they do not have it for teachers. They do not have it for institutional abuse, and even down to abuse at home. Then, if teachers have got to be aware, policies tell teachers you've got to familiarise yourself with the families, right, to look out for this abuse. So if we're telling teachers that, then why aren't we telling them how closely connected familial abuse and institutional abusers are? Because very often they both overlap. Do you know what I mean? So that abuse doesn't stop at the school gate. It continues inside of the school gate. So why, you know, so what we see in here, guys, is we're seeing massive gaps in provisions. Everything we say is all, I don't even read newspapers or magazines. Every single thing I say comes from studies, right? Not a study, studies, proper ones, you know, and this stuff is real, guys. It's all fresh, it's all brand new, and it contradicts absolutely everything they're saying.
Well, you've been doing a massive methodological report, really collecting all the data from all these different studies. I do just want to say, I know that at the Senedd now, they're just on their topic before it is voting, so I'm just keeping an eye on that.
Should we switch? Do you want to put the screen on, but we can still chat?
Yeah.
So all you have to do then is oh no, what should we do? Should we
no, well, I can see, because it's what it's once this guy comes off, I can see, because he's talking about the subject before. When he comes off, I'll know that it's, well, either somebody else or it's changing subject.
Yeah, guys, so like we do, this is the approach, very much the approach that we take. We do take the safeguarding approach, and we've done that from day one, Del, haven't we?
Yeah.
And we have done a lot of work. We've taken some data as well from other places.
Oh, hang on, right. Oh, no, hang on, go back. No, it's 1 second. Sorry if I jump in. But Kim, can we just quickly mention as well that there is another consultation going through the Senedd at the moment?
No, it's not going through the Senedd, it's going through central government.
Okay. Right, hang on, I'm just going to check on this.
The conversion therapy you're on about, yeah?
Conversion therapy, yeah.
I haven't seen one going through the Senedd yet. I've heard them talk about it, but I haven't seen it go through there yet.
So, yeah, it's been, right, just 1 second. It's obviously because it's been extended at the moment, yeah, but I don't know if it's a Welsh alone or whether that's the full UK.
Well, that's the one that I've seen is the UK. The one that's just been extended is the UK.
Grand. Right, I'm just going to check on this a moment. Kim, you can hold.
Yeah, but we'll do videos on that. I did do one on the consultation the other day, but it disappeared. But I'll do an even better one after. I will look into lots of different details and that. But like we were saying, we've like our FOIs that we got here, we've had these for months. We've got other data as well, which is really good data, which will probably blow your socks off. We can't release details of that yet, but you know, once we can, you'll all have access to it. But it is shocking, guys, and then there's a lot of work to be done, and the work starts with the adults, not the children. You know,
I just want us to, because I know we've kind of brushed through the documents earlier, I wasn't sure, did we cover, Kim, much about our petition? I know we mentioned the petition and said how we should have had a debate.
Yeah, well, after the vote now, I'll come to that because she mentioned the rights of a child, and that's something that keeps coming up, as well as children's rights, and that there was an issue with our petition with that in it, and I think it's important that people hear that. So yeah, we'll cover that. I've got it under Plaid Cymru. And
obviously, just another big thing of this is for everybody to remember is that now this particular education, which is, as we know, comprehensive sexuality education, it comes from UNESCO, it comes from the World Health Organization. This is not a Welsh education. It's repeatedly been said that it's being co-constructed. You know, we've got the UNESCO documents, and we even come up, our documents, our Welsh draft even comes up. If you go to the UNESCO website and type in Wales, you will get our Welsh draft for our RSE come up on the UNESCO website.
The Welsh draft that comes up, that's the one that was published in February, and in there you still got a parental opt-out. So this is what you need to realise, guys. From that draft that they put on the global website, okay, we've lost a parental opt-out. Things have changed, okay? So stuff they keep showing people, they're always a few steps ahead in their process, but we're a few steps ahead of them waiting, you know? So we did try to intercept it, but we'll discuss more of that now after the vote.
And people need to, as I said, realise that this is no opt-out, and this will be woven into the curriculum. You won't be able to just withdraw your child from the class because there is no lesson to withdraw them from. I'm just going to check the debate again in a moment.
It's in 52 countries, and we're in the same boat as them now. It's here, and it's never it's never gone. Once it comes in, it never goes. It actually changes laws as well, you know. So it really is, guys. It's down to us. We are the ones that have to do something about it. And I do know that people around the world are they're kind of excited. Actually, the Wales is actually starting to get annoyed about it, you know. But we are the last people now. This is the last chance to actually do something about it. Scotland's got these lessons in hard and fast. England's got the lessons in. They're messing about with policies, you know, and it's popping up in different schools all the time. But we're a few steps ahead of the other countries because we were looking at it we followed it in from a global aspect, you know. People are in England and Scotland, they're just looking at the lesson contents thinking it's the government, when actually it's not, it's global. So we literally watched it trickle down into our country.
This seems to be one aspect that we're not seeing. There's lots of campaigns fighting this, but there is little mention to the global, to the global education this is. I know with the School Gate campaign, they do have one letter which briefly mentions Alfred Kinsey at the end, but nobody's talking about UNESCO. Nobody's talking about the World Health Organization. And these are the crux of what we are getting. People keep saying, that's America, that's America. The best thing you can do to educate yourself on this education is go and look at Texas, go and look at New York, go and look at California. This is what we're getting. In fact, and Wales, as much as we are the UK, you can look at any document. Wales are getting the extreme end of this comprehensive sex education.
This is why England's had this legislation. It is such a radical piece of legislation. No, I say out at the end. It's okay. I'll write it down to remind me.
So the Senedd are just having a short break, ready to resume for the vote. So I'm just keeping an eye on that a second. There are other debates going on, so there will be other votes as well. So we will just sit and watch them all, because to be on mute, obviously we're not going to be able to tell when they're talking about RSE. So we will just put that on, and
you know what's going to happen anyway, guys. They're going to probably vote it through, right?
Absolutely.
Well,
You've got to remember, this is a global agenda, and Wales are well in the pocket with Stonewall. They're well in the pocket with these American globalists wanting this education. So, you know,
right.
I
don't know if we're going to have time to go through our documents to show people. Right, guys, this is not a guessing game. If you go on the resource page of our website, you will find a document called the Sexuality Education in Central Asia. If you look at page 8 of that, it tells you we're having the World Health Organization document. If you look at page 174, it's got a map of England, and there's a little star, it says England. You go to the star down the bottom and it tells you this study was conducted in England, but it applies to the rest of the UK. Going back to page 8, it tells us all 4 select committees of the UK signed up to this. We were the last people to get involved out of Europe, okay? So we sealed the deal for Europe. Well, it actually says 5 select committees, which would cover Southern Ireland. So that was signed the 1st of March, 2017. The document they signed up to was the World Health Organization document 2010. It wants sex education from birth. It is very graphic. It's recently been removed off the website, but we have it downloaded onto our website. It's all there for you guys, right? If you scroll down, there are other videos that we've done. So you will look at the connection and we go through the documents. You will see we've scrutinized reports. We've done the history, and we do try as well to try and put as many of the links as we can in the description, you know. So it's all there, guys. Oh, she's on the website now, she is. Yeah, so that's the document I'm on about there, guys. The up a little tiny bit down. See, that's it for that. The sexuality education in Europe. So that's done on 25 studies. And this is the document that tells us which, well, it tells us they signed up for it the 1st of March 2017. The people involved in these discussions was the Department of Health, Department of Education, and children's ministers as well, all right? So a lot of people were involved in this. The only thing that we don't know, which we have tried really hard to get to the bottom of, we don't know who from Wales sat on that table on the 1st of March 2017. That is the only thing we don't know, and we would love to find that out. So,
yeah, but this is I just want to say, this is a good document for anyone to read, because this is not only telling us about the UK and how it got here in the UK, but it's basically telling you about their whole agenda and what they've done to get this all over the world. This is just a brief overview, so it's absolutely brimming of information.
And look, they are daunting, right? So like this one is 232 pages, right? It is daunting. But if you start on the pages that relate to us, curiosity, you're going to get there. I would suggest, if you're a phone scroller, download it to your phone and just flick through every so often. If you're a printer offer, then do you know what? If you want this document printed and you haven't got ink to print it, I would gladly print it for you, right? If you're one of these people that needs to sit down and read something, it's really important you get to understand this, guys, because there's lots and lots of information out there. These are not our words, and this is not our guesswork, you know. We are just trying to deliver this information.
Say this here, look, and I'm just going to highlight here where it says how you've got like the Family Planning Association, who they've used the WHO document to advocate for this comprehensive sexual education.
And it's got the date there as well, look, on the 1st of March 2017.
Yeah, and it wants it statutory from 2019. So all the information, go to our resources. It is absolutely all there. Right, I'm going to go and jump to this because the debate is on, okay? Don't seem to have volume. Oh. Where's my mouse gone? Sorry, I'm just going to stop the share there so I can see if I can get the volume up. Why do I all of a sudden?
Well, anyway.
Right, I don't know why we suddenly got, no, I'm gonna just, let me just
No,
see.
I don't think they're saying anything anyway. Let me check for you.
No, I can see mouths moving, so just bear with me a moment.
There's nothing on the screen for me. It's telling me that it's telling me let me know when the next meetings are. So Adele's talking to you guys, but she's actually on mute.
So I have them all talk. Oh, here we are. Got it.
I want to set out a few points. Parliament.
Can you hear that okay?
Proceedings.
Yeah. Yeah.
Will apply to today's meeting, and these are set out on your agenda, and I would remind members that standing orders relating to order in plenary meetings apply to this meeting. The first item today is questions to the First Minister, and the first question is from Darren Miller.
What assessment has the Welsh Government made of the adequacy of flood defences in Clwyd West?
So with flood defence adequacy,
as I said, guys, obviously we're just going to have to watch some of these questions because we don't know when they're going to speak about the RSE, so we're just going to have to go through that process.
The Welsh Government sets national policy and provides funding, including £5.24 million for schemes in Clwyd West in this financial year.
Thank you for that answer, First Minister. I'm delighted that money is indeed being awarded to improve flood defences in Clwyd West. One of those areas which is down for improvement very soon is the coastal strip between Tywyn and Kinmel Bay, which of course is extremely important as far as the visitor season is concerned, and where those coastal sea defences are protecting many thousands of properties and businesses. One of the concerns which has been raised with me about the plans which have now been published for the improvement of the sea defences in this area is that the plans simply aren't attractive enough for either the locals or the visitors who will be wanting to use the coastal path and coastal belt as part of their local amenity for facilities. In addition to that, obviously there's been a suspension of Technical Advice Note 15 in terms of the implementation of the new technical advice note, which will afford a greater level of protection for homes and businesses in the future. What assurances can you give me on behalf of the Welsh Government that the people of Tywyn and Kinmel Bay will get a decent level of flood protection in spite of the fact that the new technical advice note has not been implemented? And what assurances can you provide in relation to how attractive these flood defences can be, given the concerns about the fact that these are in a tourism resort area?
Oh, well, sorry, I thank Darren Miller for those questions. I know what a close interest he takes in flood and coastal erosion issues in his constituency, and I know that in his own personal history, he has direct experience of what it is to be flooded. So I know he brings a great deal of passion and expertise to these issues. I'm very glad that the Welsh Government has been able to review the outline business case for the Llandulais Kinmel Bay coastal scheme. We've been able to award Conway Council £450,000 worth in funding for the full business case and the detailed design. I hope that will be an opportunity to take into account the points that the member has made about, as well as the urgent need to protect people's homes, that the coast is a national asset here in Wales. It brings many visitors, and that work needs to be done sympathetically in order to make sure that those very important economic aspects are sustained into the future. Thank the member for what he said about TAM 15. Llywydd, it has been, the implementation date has been put back by 18 months so we can make sure that the basis on which that advice will be founded, the maps and so on, are in the best possible order. But the purpose of TAM 15 is to make sure that houses are not built in future in places that put them at direct risk of flooding. So, you know, there is no standing back at all inside the Welsh Government from the underlying purpose of the TAM 15, the revised advice note that will be published. We want to get it as good as we possibly can. The delay will allow us to work further with local authorities on the detailed information that lies behind the policy, and then it will need to do what Darren Miller says and make sure that it protects those communities who otherwise would be at risk.
I need to check whether I can be heard at this point. Can anybody? Yes, I can be heard. Diolch. My problem is that I can't hear you, but that's not a license to do whatever you want. But I will call the next question, question 2, Rhys Bowen.
What discussions has the Welsh Government had with Cardiff Council regarding recycling rates? Llywydd, thank you to Rhys Bowen for the question. Ministers and officials have had direct discussions with Cardiff Council.
Do you know what, while he was having a little chat there about recycling, I thought that we could just maybe bring up 1 or 2 more things. I just want to say to people, it's never too late to write to your MPs, your local councillors. You can still do this, still write to them. It's never too late for anything. Speak to your school, ask her. Now that you know a little bit more information, now that the schools can no longer deny, and I honestly don't think they were denying before. I just think they were completely uninformed and uneducated. They just didn't know it was coming. Yeah, they just didn't know it's coming.
If you know of a teacher that's concerned and doesn't know what to do, we've actually got an email address for them as well. So we'll have to put that out. Contact us or send us a message to the website. We've got an email address, and that goes straight through to he's a school governor himself. So that information is going straight through to somebody else. And yeah, you've got a safe place to go away from the, what should I say, the commotion of us then. Do you know what I mean? So you've got somewhere quiet to go and discuss things. So we won't even know you've contacted us yet, you know, unless you want us to know. So yeah.
Kim, am I right in thinking the vote's probably going to be after whatever questions
it's going to be
asked now? So I'm going to, I'm not sure if you can, I don't think you can see us on the screen. No, you can't. I'm looking at the YouTube. You can't see us on the screen. I know that we've got this running, but, oh no, I can't see me. Oh, no, I can. I'm up in the, yeah, I can. We're in the top corner. So you can see us. We're going to leave this, I'm going to leave this playing in the background, but rather than listen to all of this, I'll just keep checking in and we can just carry on chatting as well. But obviously we don't
no, the thing is, if we miss the vote anyway, right, through talking, we can just say what it is and we can just share the thing. So if we miss it, guys, then, and it's only a couple of seconds long, isn't it?
Yeah.
But bottom line is now, at the moment, they're still arguing over this RSE code that is supposed to be wonderful. But we know, okay, we know in the documents it tells us the RSE code is UNESCO. Right, you know, that they've told us that. We've proven it. Look at the correspondence between us and Kirsty Williams. You know, you will see it's there. Even though she's denying it's a global rollout, she's happy to reference it as co-construction.
Absolutely.
So yeah,
and you just have to look at the UNESCO documents. It's state. So we haven't shared these documents with you yet.
Cut him down, he makes me sick. I've had enough of looking at his turkey neck.
I'm going to just stop the share for a minute because I can see him here and he's just mumbling away. But we haven't shown you the documents that have just been released, the consultation summary. Now, the previous consultation summaries we have had, they've been relatively in depth. This one is not. In fact, it just it implies that everybody is happy with the RSE code, and it implies any small amount of people who did have an issue with it, and it's really presented as a small amount of people are just ill-informed, are just uneducated. Now we know not only did ourselves as individuals, we responded to the consultation as the organisation Public Child Protection Wales as well. We know that LGB Alliance Cymru responded to this consultation. We know, say it for me, Kim, Merched
Cymru.
So I always get told off by Kim for when I say that. They have responded as well. So we know that other organisations have responded to this consultation, not just ourselves. Yet this response summary would imply, it implies that a small nuanced amount of people have responded to this and they basically didn't know what they were talking about.
This consultation is for our benefit because we started applying the pressure.
We said that at the beginning, didn't we, Kim? When this came out, we said, remember we showed you that consultation earlier on saying that they were going to have a campaign against the ill-informed misinformation being spread. And this was it. That's what that consultation was for.
Yeah, and this is why they're not giving you all the information, because if they give you all the information, they prove it us right. This is why they're dripping it in slowly. But what you need to realize is the actual legislation is what we've got a problem with, because in that they never ever have to consult you ever again. It's on section 7.3 or 7.1 and another section. It's repeated a few times, right? They never have to consult you on anything ever again. The stages they have consulted, they've taken no notice anyway. You know, this debate you're seeing tonight, guys, this is something we should have had, right? We should have had this ourselves. We took part in the petition process. So we wrote our petition out, we sent it to the government, and well, they sent it back a few times, didn't they? We put all this information in there for you. We put links to every single document for you as well. They removed all our links. They removed the sexual and reproductive rights as well. Right now, we've heard a lot about rights, so I'll discuss that in a second now. They also then, guys, they did finally put our petition up, and the information didn't make much sense. They made a mockery out of it, right? But anyway, we did it. So they rang us up on the Thursday afternoon to say to us now, if you don't get your 5,000 signatures by Monday, it's going up to 10,000, right? We made that 5,000 signatures. So we should have had a debate. You know, like you've seen earlier, you should have seen our evidence that we submitted to the petitions committee, 17 pieces of evidence, right? They didn't even address our 17 pieces of evidence. If you go on the education page of our website, scroll down to the bottom, you will see the petition committee debate. They kicked it into the long grass. They didn't even contact us. We had an email, I think it was a day after they voted this in March, Del. I'd have to go back to my emails to double check, but they had an email to say that they was going no further. So that's another issue, guys. You know, we should have had a debate of our own. Our information that we submitted to the petitions committee is all on the government website as well as our website. You know, Kirsty Williams had to respond to that. Within that, you can see, we quite clearly pointed out that Kirsty has either misled members of the committee or she doesn't know what she's talking about, because she denies our claims, but she goes on to reference them then as co-construction. So there's a lot of discrepancies that we have pulled them up on throughout this. Nobody's given us any answers for anything. The only people that's actually providing the evidence is us. basically, you know. And this is another thing you'll find. You hear about rights all the time, okay? Rights. And some people will say, what about the Children's Commissioner? Because the Children's Commissioner is supposed to be rights-based, you know. Well, according to them all, this is a child's right to education, right? Okay, if you want to fall for that, that's one thing they're saying. Another problem we have here in Wales, guys, is we have children's rights override parental rights, okay? So children's rights are actually law in Wales. I think it's the first 40 articles. And so we got the children's rights that override parental rights. But the children now have something called sexual and reproductive rights, okay? So the children's rights are up there, the sexual and reproductive rights are there, and there are the parental rights under there, all right? Now, I'm just going to I'll do loads of different videos on what can happen from this stuff, right? I don't want this video to be too dark. But that's basically where we're going. That is the hierarchy of rights now in Wales, just from this piece of education, because it's our child's right to an education. I wanted to consider something now. Unless you really are dealings with social services, you're not going to understand the implications of this. But what's going to happen is, right, so we got Welsh Government bringing this in. We got local authority that got to stick to government guidelines, okay, because they get it inspected as well. UNESCO is inspecting the schools. And then you've got teachers that's got to carry it out anyway. You go to the Welsh Government and they'll say, we can't get involved in local authority decisions, even though the government brought this legislation into place. Right, and so when you go to the school complaining, what are the school going to do? The school are going to report it to the services. That's when social services come in, and based on criteria, you are a problem parent that is breaching your child's right to an education. Now, there's other aspects of this as well that's dangerous when we go down the sex route and the sexuality route. And again, you'll be breaching your child's sexual and reproductive rights. Okay, that's something you need to listen to. Guys, we've got some changes coming as well. There has been investments into lowering the age of consent in Scotland. We mimic a lot of what Scotland do. Kirsty Williams always references Scotland and their curriculum. We've shown you what their curriculum is like. If we're going to go down that route of decriminalising sexual activities with young people, and their definition of young people is age 10, where are we going with this? We really are at a really bad point here, you know? So
and I think it's really hard to fit in just how bad things are getting, and where they're going. It really is. We just wouldn't. I'm just looking now. They have taken another break. They're having technical issues. We're not any closer to the vote. So, and I know that we could carry on. It could carry on for hours.
We can always share the details of the vote.
That's what I was going to say, Kim, is that we've heard what they've said. Look, guys, let's be realistic and let's be honest. We would be shocked if this was voted against. We got a Labour stronghold. Labour love this. Labour want it. This is happening. You know, Conservatives are saying no, but it was the Conservatives that brought this in the very first place. So they are not no angels and against this and all this. It was the Conservative government that brought in this global sex education. So Labour are running with it, but Conservatives brought it in. And, you know, they're going to vote in favour of this RSE code tonight. And, you know, this is where we're battling, you know, Kim in particular, with being a criminologist, with being just very knowledgeable when it comes to politics and how things work. I'm not going to let this lie challenging, and, you know, we'll take this to court. This is what is going to happen. And Kim, I know you are working your backside off on all of this and trying to get, you know, to ensure that, you know, that this has happened, and we won't. We will fight this every step of the way, and that will be in the
guys. This is not just the thing of RSE. Like we've mentioned, there are so many gaps in the training and the provisions. There's so many problems. we know we need reform. We know this is a David and a Goliath thing. You know, this really is. We know that we can't possibly pick one thing and fight that one thing. We have to constantly be working on different aspects because our kids are being failed so badly. You know, there's so much to do. There's so much to do. The demand out there is just incredible. Now there's lots to do. We're going to try our best, but we can't get out there without you guys. You know, and we're not going nowhere. I'm not going nowhere. Right, I am not going nowhere. But I don't want to be fighting this in 40 years' time, just like they are in America. Yeah. You know, I want to get this sorted. Yeah. And this is as well, you know, so this has come into our country now, okay? We're still fighting it. We're still taking it to court. But this is a UK fight now. This is a UK fight now, guys.
And I want to say, so there is a stranger in a park. Someone has told you they've got evidence that man is a paedophile. However, you've got a load of other people telling you that he's not. Do you go and let your child play with that man? He wants to, that's why he's been asking, I want to have a game of footy with your child. You've been told by someone, I have evidence they're a paedophile. You let them play with your child is going to come to harm. But then you've got 10 others saying, it's not. Actually, if you let your child play with him, he'll benefit. He's really good with children. He knows children. He can develop children. He'll ensure your child becomes healthy. What do? Do you ignore that one voice? Because that's what we feel like amongst all these teachers, governors, AMs, all the people that support this. They are the 10 people telling you that adult is nothing to be concerned about. And we are that one person telling you, we got to hear. All you've got to do is open this little folder and you will see all the evidence you need. Do you open the folder? That's all we're asking you to do. That is what we're asking you to do. We are telling you that this education is dangerous to children. It does
we're not just telling you. We're not just telling you it's dangerous to children.
We're showing you.
Coming forward with some solutions.
Yeah.
We're coming forward with solutions. You know.
Yeah.
And this is the truth. We're trying to solve this problem. We're not just waving our arms in the air that we want this stopped. You know, because we are frigid old women. We want change, and we want a better society for children. This education is going to cost between 300 and 600 million pounds. You know, they can't even say 300 and 400. We're talking 300 and 600 million.
And look what is going on in the world right now. Well, in Wales. In Wales, there is so much more. There's so much more to be done. As I said, classrooms, and I am going to go back and. Oh.
Are ready to restart. Apologies for that technical break.
Sorry.
And I now call.
Sorry about that. They've just come off their technical break. But again, I'm going to reiterate about, you know, the children with disabilities. We are lacking big time. I can't tell you how many emails I get because my CV is with agencies and they know that I'm working mainstream schools because I've worked disability for so long, because they haven't got nobody. They haven't got anybody. I'm working with a young boy at the moment who needs, he's got lots of medical issues. He needs assistance with a lot of things in school. In children, I know for Grace, as she will relate with this one, including a colostomy bag. And I job share. And yet this child, if I'm not in, this child has a bag or has a leak, that child's going home. And he's going home, and he's not going home because the other teacher doesn't know, she doesn't know what to do, but he also doesn't want her to know. He doesn't want his mum coming in. This is an 8-year-old boy. But because I've worked in this field, because I was able to let him know straight away, I've done this 100 times. I was able to make him feel reassured. I was able to make him feel trusted in me. That on the days I'm in school, he knows he's looked at. He knows that all his needs are going to be met by me. Like I said, it's not that the other staff member can't meet his needs. He doesn't feel trusting enough of it because, you know, we got two different ends here. She's educated in terms of she's used to being a TA. I'm not used to being a TA. So she's been trained via educational services where I'm trained via disability. And when I'm there, his health and his needs are what's number one to me. And I'm able to advocate for him because I know that things that will benefit him in the classroom, if he had access to, whether it's software, whether it's to equipment, I'm able to advocate for him for these things because I know disability. I know that you can't tell the ADHD child to sit still whilst letting the child with autism bounce around the classroom. We got big problems, and 600 million we're spending on this.
And there's no science behind it. There's nothing to back it, guys. It's all political. We've tried to show you that it's not a political issue. It's not political for us. You know, it's not political for us, but it is political. It's coming into the political system. There's been no democratic process. We've just been treated like absolute dirt all the way throughout. And, you know, we've come forward with some serious concerns. We've delivered the evidence and our ministers have failed to address it. So even down to the teachers, if teachers are not prepared to research this, then they are negligent, you know, and you must report them for that. And you can look on our website, there are template letters on there, fully evidenced, fully referenced. If you sent that letter off and you've had a response you don't like, come back to us. Like I've been ill for a while now, these past couple of months, but I'm back now. I'm back on track. Obviously, I'm not going to be full time up to Christmas, but after Christmas, I will be doing regular, you know, so there will be somebody there regular for you. Because what you need to understand, guys, is we didn't plan this. This came into our lives. So there was commitments before this, you know. So we tried to juggle everything, but now this will have my attention, being 100% as well. So I do kind of feel sorry for the government because they had us half-hearted last time. Now they got us full steam ahead, and we're growing every day. So I'm as good as done, you, Del, to be honest.
Yes, I was going to say, I've just checked back in. They're still very much on question. I can see that some people are asking for us to hang in there. Guys, go to Senedd.tv and you can watch this live yourself. So you could, what I am showing you, I've just got up on the Senedd, on the Senedd website.
Senedd TV, that's all, guys.
Yeah, Senedd TV. I wish I could stay online, but I can't. I got stuff to get on with. And like Kim, I know you were up to your eyeballs as well, so we'd love to. However,
I'm getting back into being a mother. I've got to catch up on a year's worth of cleaning I have, guys, you know. I haven't even got curtain poles up a minute because I've gone mad taking them all down. So I got to try and get it all back together in time for Christmas.
And once we do get the results, we can pull up the results again. Myself and Kim can do another live where we discuss the results and we can show the results to you being played if you want and who's voted for what. We can do all that. But unfortunately, there's just no way of knowing how long these questions can go on for now. And yeah, you know, a big reason that we haven't been around so much is we've all got a lot going on, and you know, Kim's not been well. I've not been the best myself.
There's been some members as well that are just suffering traumatic loss.
Absolutely, you know, some of the team have you can't even fathom the pain that they have been experiencing, and So yes, as much as we would love to stay on for you until this vote is done, we cannot, but we will, as soon as we know the results of the vote, we will get those posted and jump onto the Senedd TV now, and you can watch it yourself and see the results. And yeah, we just got to keep it fighting, isn't it, Kim?
Yeah, it's really important. You just keep spreading the message now, guys. There are going to be loads of updates coming soon. Another reason why there's been no posting of PCP is because I've only just found my handset. Now, you might think, oh, somebody can just add it to the groups, but no, because it was my password clogging everything up. So I've literally just found my handset. So, and I'm trying not to post off my personal profile. I want to try and keep them separate. So there's been lots of little things going on, but there's also lots of stuff to go out now. The team has grown as well. We've got new board members. So obviously we'll be doing a live, we'll be getting them on as well. I'm saying the new board members, they've been with us since day dot. They've been our backbone and they've been there for us every step of the way. It's just we've officially joined North Wales and South Wales officially now, you know, it's official. So yeah, so we're growing, guys, and also we've been in touch with you guys as well. We've had lots of contact from you, lots of emails. We've still got all those application forms to go through. So yeah, just bear with us, guys. Like I said, things are growing now, you know, things are growing and we are headed in the right direction.
And if you could share this would be great. Keep sharing our platform, share our website, share the Facebook pages, share the Twitter, share the YouTube, just share, especially the website, predominantly the website. That is where all the information is.
Yeah, well, that's another thing. The website is going to be heavily updated now. We've got lots of stuff to write and publish on there. One of our members as well, she's like, she's just like a go-to woman, you know, she polishes up all her writing because we're just everyday people, aren't we? So yeah, we got people watching over us now, making sure our work is getting a better standard each time. Guys, we are rising to the occasion. There is no government on this planet that is going to stop us in our tracks.
Absolutely.
So thanks everyone for watching. I'm going to end this live stream now. But that was our first ever online demonstration, cut in with the debate from the Senedd as well. I hope you enjoyed it. I do know the chat has been really active tonight and that's made us feel good.
Yeah, so, and Kim, can I just say congratulations on ourselves for quite seamlessly going from this live debate, because we have not been the best known for things running smoothly when we're trying to manage technology. So well done us.
Literally we planned this 24 hours ago because the government doesn't tell us what's happening. This was just our way of kind of giving a bit of a demonstration.
Yeah.
So thanks for watching, guys. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Sign up to the website www.publicchildprotectionwales.org. I am going to be putting all my time and attention into that now, and things are going to be going from the website that way, okay? So, guys, as much as I love you all on Facebook, I prefer you all on the website. So don't forget to sign up.
Absolutely.